Welcome. We've
Well,
got
let's
some friends
see.
joining us today.
Awesome. I'm happy, excited to be here.
Absolutely. I've got everything queued up and we are live on Facebook. And we are recording. So we're all good to go and we're excited. We're still waiting for Rob to join us, so he should be here in just a minute, but I think what we could probably
Ooh,
do is go ahead and get things started as far as digging into the deck a little bit.
I love that plan. I hope that everybody had a wonderful holiday.
It was a
And
wonderful holiday. Mine was extra special because I'm now a grandma. So super excited about that. I have
there's
a
the
little
confetti.
guy, little Callum James has stolen my heart and I'll never get it back again.
Oh,
And I'm joining everybody from Baltimore. So I'm in lovely Baltimore, Maryland with my daughter who had her very first child a week ago yesterday, and he is just the most beautiful baby I think I've ever seen.
he's perfect.
He is so perfect, and I just can't get enough of him. So, really, really been a special time. So,
I agree. I mean, I'm watching from afar, and I've been one of those. It's like, yay, Heather, what's the news today?
thank you,
What's
everyone.
happening?
Oh, he's
And
just so cute. He's
you
just,
shared some pictures, and it's like there's a lot of babies out there that they're kind of funny looking whenever they first start off. And
yeah.
my gosh, he is not. He's just adorable. His little nose is perfect. His face is perfect. I mean, he looks like the calendar baby. He
He
just
does look like a
does.
calendar baby. I mean, it's kind of crazy. And there's a picture that I shared on Facebook. If for those of you that are friends with me on Facebook, I shared this picture that I took. I've been doing my grandmother name is Nani, and so we've been doing morning Nani time. And so it was yesterday, the day before, I brought him down and I put him in his bassinet, and I just happened to snap picture, and it was early in the morning, like 5. It was like early o'clock. And the picture came out so good. It looks like one of those Anne Geeds photos, just perfectly done. So, yeah.
It's
So anyway, if you
adorable.
hear a baby crying in the background, that's why, because he's literally like 20 feet
A
from
real
me.
baby.
And he's a real baby. So,
That's
so
so awesome.
yeah, we had I've been cooking lots of food, filling their freezer with food. I made a lasagna yesterday and a bunch of calzones, and I'm gonna make them some more food tonight. So.
So, are you making your famous clam chowder?
No, I didn't make my famous clam chowder on this
Oh,
trip, but I will. I think maybe I'll make it at Christmas.
okay.
Yeah.
Man, that is so good. Heather's got a fabulous recipe that is like so yummy, and it's not that which I like traditional clam chowder. Whenever I think traditional, I think that thick kind of white gravy type base, but yours is more of like a broth base, and it's just
It can be. It's not Rhode Island chowder style, Catherine. The Rhode Island chowder. So there's three different types of chowder. I'll school everybody in chowder while we're waiting for Rob. So we've got our New England style chowder, which is the one that most people are familiar with, and that's the really creamy, delicious, thick chowder. And then we have Manhattan chowder, which comes from Manhattan, like New York, Manhattan. And the Manhattan chowder is a tomato-based chowder. So we call it red chowder. So that's the red cheddar and it's tomato based, and that's also really yummy. It's actually my least favorite, but it's chowder, so I'll eat it. And it also tends to be a little spicy. And then there is Rhode Island chowder, Rhode Island style chowder, which Catherine was mentioning in chat, and that's actually a clear chowder. So it's a clear base chowder, and my chowder is somewhere in the middle because I call it heart attack soup because it's got 2 pounds of bacon. It's got I think 3 quarts of heavy whipping cream in it and like a pound of butter. Yeah. So it's very, very, it is, it's not a healthy soup at all. Um, and it serves four.
cool.
It
Kind of.
actually, yeah, it serves a lot more than four, but I could feed an army with it. I think it's 5 gallons is what I normally make. But it is like basically thicken it up. It starts as like a clear base, and then you thicken it up with the roux. So after you've made the chowder, then you put a roux in it, and then you can make it as thick as you want. I just tend to not make it super thick. Uh,
Mm.
yeah. So anyway,
I love the consistency. And I think that, knowing some of that background. So I agree with you. The creaminess is yummy and I love that, but the broth makes the clams stick out more. So yours being this in between, it's like you get best of both worlds, and I love it. I love it so much.
it's so good. It's so good. So yeah, so how about you? What did you make for Thanksgiving? What was the number? My other big one that my family loves is every year I make a pumpkin cheesecake. And that is a staple for every
Oh,
Thanksgiving, every Christmas. They all want the pumpkin cheesecake.
that is a yummy one, and I have to say I'm all for like a pumpkin cake or a pumpkin pecan cake. That's another one that I make that's like a it's like a yellow box cake, and then you make like the insides of a pumpkin pie, or you can do a pumpkin pie or a pecan pie, either one of those. Those are yum yum yum. But the hit this year seemed to be green bean casserole. So it's like one of the easiest things to make, and I put sausage in mine, and so it's like it's still
Yum.
stupid easy. And I made two different 9 by 13 pans of it, and it's gone.
Do you put the fried onions on it?
Oh gosh, yes. I bake because I do it in 9 by 13. I bake it in the oven for about 40 minutes with a whole package of French onions in there. And then after that gets all bubbly, then I add another layer for the top.
Oh, Chet, that sounds delicious.
Green beans
I
covered in
made
brown
so
sugar and bacon.
I started making my own cranberry sauce about 3 years
Ooh.
ago. And I didn't realize how easy it is. So if you don't make your own cranberry sauce, this is how easy cranberry sauce is to make. You fill a pan with like a cup or two of water or whatever it is. You open a bag of fresh cranberries and you throw it in, and then you dump in a cup of sugar and then you cook it. That's it. And you
Wow.
cook it for like 15 minutes. And I add things like I add some orange peel, like the orange zest, and orange juice. I actually cook my cranberries in orange juice rather than the water. And I also add walnuts. So good. So. And it's
Oh.
so easy. And what I did now is we had a bunch of it left over. So what I've been doing is every morning I eat oatmeal. I just take the oatmeal and I put in a couple scoops of the leftover cranberry sauce. So good.
That sounds amazing.
It is amazing and it's healthy. It's all natural.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well,
Pineapple and nuts. Oh, that sounds amazing. Jelly cranberry sauce is good too. My kids always make me buy the canned jelly sauce too.
for those of you who joined whenever Casey was on with us, she had talked about a cranberry port jelly. Oh, and I can't wait to make it. She sent over the recipe, and like you said, Heather, it's not that hard. So I think there's three ingredients. I just pulled it up. Okay, no, it's five. So port wine, sugar, cranberries, peppercorn, and what is this last one? Oh, cloves. That's it.
Cloves. Yum. I love cloves.
Yeah, so
All
for
right.
anybody who's interested, we can share that. But yeah.
So it looks like Rob is trying to get into our meeting,
Oh, awesome.
and perhaps we can send him. Liz, would you be able to send the meeting link directly to our good friend Leah in chat so that she can send it over?
Yeah, let's see. Copy
I'm sorry he's
invitation.
having trouble.
Well, and so while we're doing that, do you want to give some background here? I'm going to pull up some of the slides and we can skip some of our intro while I'm
Yeah,
helping to get, we'll go back to that one, but maybe
sure.
do our thank you
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
okay.
So we are going to be talking about Digits today. So we have Rob coming on from Digits, and he's going to be doing a demo into Digits for us today. So we're super excited about that. And then Liz, do you want to hit the next button or the back
Yeah.
button? Oh,
Oops, back
not that
button.
one.
Sorry. There we go.
There we go. And we also want to give a huge Thank you to our champagne level sponsor, Zero. They've been an incredible partner this year. We've learned a lot. We did our Zero cohort. We've had 4 episodes, which you can all find on our YouTube channel. So if you are looking to explore Zero, you can do that. And a huge thank you to them. This has been a great year with them.
It has. It's been so exciting. I think that we've had just a year full of GL changes. Like even
Mhm.
today we're going to be with Digits talking about a different GL. So it's been exciting to be able to um, see all of the development of everything that's been happening in our accounting space. So I'm really looking forward to looking at this demo, which we've gotten a sneak preview before. And Heather, you did a really nice walkthrough of Digits.
We did, yeah.
Probably like what
Yep.
was that, 2 months ago?
It's about 2 months ago. We did a quick demo of it. And what, I did not do it justice at all. I think we set it up right on the screen from like just got started with everybody on the call, and we kind of went in and played with it. So I'm excited to have Rob come on and dig into the soup to nuts with us today. That'll be really great. So do you want to go ahead and yeah. Oh, and a thank you to our annual sponsors as well, MyTask LMS, which we've got a couple of episodes with them, including a firm spotlight where we dig into. They are a learning management system for accounting firms, where they have created and packaged training for firms to train their teams. So they have QuickBooks training, Zero training, tax training on ProConnect Tax Online, on Pro Series, CCH. And then they also they take it a step further. Like we've seen a lot of trainings that are basically the how-tos on the accounting software. But what they do, which is really different, is they tie it back to the work papers and the source documents. And they really train deep on here's what you're actually going to see when a client gives you the information. And then here's how you translate that into the accounting software. So really cool stuff.
Yeah,
And
it
yeah,
seems like he's still having a bit of an issue joining us.
huh.
So I'm not really sure what's going on, but I've copied our links to be able to share with him. And
That's so strange.
yeah, it says that he's getting an error, which he's
Very
got the
odd.
invitation.
Hmm. Catherine's wondering if maybe it's a VPN, but I don't think so because we've been on a lot of Zoom calls with our friend Rob, and we've never had an issue, so I'm not really sure what's going on with it. But I'm
Hmm.
thinking, Liz, that we're about 15 minutes in, um, and we may want I want to make sure that we're giving him enough time to dig into that demo. So maybe we'll give him like a couple more minutes, and then we may have to just reschedule this so that we can make sure that everybody can.
See what's going on. Because I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like this is honestly, whenever we're talking about GLs, I feel like this is something that many of us have wanted to see. Like, what does it look like to use a different GL, and especially one that is AI powered? So, um, I think that it would be really beneficial for us to be able to get in, to look at it, and to see how to use it. Because one of the things that they've started talking about is that there's an automatic close, so you can
Hmm.
close the books without any type of interaction with the books, but yet at the same time you still have control. So we're
Right.
not releasing control of being able to review and to give input, but yet at the same time, it's a very automated approach. And it's set up different than, some of us who are QuickBooks users or Zero users. Digits has got a very different look to it.
Hmm.
And I was talking to Heather this morning, just talking about weather. I know for me, it's gotten cold here in Oklahoma. So um, it was 25 degrees last night. So I brought in my last fall winter harvest So I pulled in some turnips and some different vegetables last night. So any of you out there that are vegetable gardeners, I got my last one in before it started to freeze.
Well, we've just been harvesting humans here in Baltimore, Maryland this year. So um
Oh my gosh. I'm so
we've never
sorry.
been so happy to see you.
I know. Oh my,
Yeah, it was
that was
getting
wild.
sad.
We made it.
I-
That's what matters, I guess,
It
you know?
does. Good
So
golly.
Sorry,
welcome.
everybody. You're sitting over here for 20 minutes just trying to make, I'm sure you made wonderful conversation. So
We did. And there's plenty of interesting things happening in accounting. So we were kind of
Yeah,
running through some of
definitely.
those.
So we definitely felt the time, but we missed you and we're excited you're here and we're gonna throw you right in because we only have
let's do it at this point. You know, we'll
exactly.
do it live, you know? Here we are.
That's the best way. Well, we were talking to our buds here and we were saying that there's a lot of GL changes and there's a whole lot of interest in what all is available. And so, Digits is even last year before did a really nice presentation at Scaling New Heights and was talking about, what the future looks like with AI partnership and accounting. So I'm just going to kind of take it from there and pass it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll leave it up to you to kind of like guide me to the right place to start. Again, we're going into this, but on Digit side, I think a lot of folks within your community probably are like at least lightly familiar with who we are. We've been around for about 7 years, and that whole time we've really been looking to automate a lot of the tedium of accounting. And how that has manifested is over the course of that time, we built what we now call the AGL, or the world's first agentic general ledger. So with that goal, it's basically a reimagining the general ledger in the age of machine learning. Back when we started in 2018, the word AI wasn't a term then. Some brilliant marketing person came in since then and rebranded what was machine learning kind of like into AI. But we were founded on this premise of how do we re-look at accounting from the ground up, leveraging machine learning from the very beginning. And what that ultimately looks like is how do we automate that tedium that we all know exists in accounting and bake that directly into the ledger. So then you don't need to bolt on all of these other tools onto your ledger system where the accountant then feels like Gumby, like getting dragged in a million different directions, trying to cobble information together. How do we make it so that through deep integrations and partnership and things like that, all that just exists built into the ledger? And then you end up automating large portions of the bookkeeping, the reconciliations, and a bunch of that tedium during the month end close so that you as a firm can iterate what you provide to your client and move towards advisory or have a little bit more time to spend more time with each individual client depending on the services that you're looking to provide. So ultimately we partner with firms in a bunch of different ways, and obviously looking to hear more from y'all around the right things that I can answer, and can do a demo of the product and all the above. But again, sorry I'm late. I genuinely don't know what happened there, but here we are. It just took a phone call and some digging through email and some other things, and we made it. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here. And I think that you're spot on that accountants are wanting to simplify. And so consolidating allows us to be able to have less apps that we're logging into, less training that we're spending with our teams, less dollars going out the door. Because I know that, sometimes we employ part-time help, and that's each one of those is a subscription. And so it doesn't matter if it's a full-time person, a part-time person, those are all dollars for that particular seat.
Mhm.
So anytime that you can remove what, Heather and I have called the duct tape for years, I think that you're going to get a faster pathway to the end results that we're all looking for, which is
Mhm.
the client conversation, like what really matters to them.
Yep, exactly.
And I know that you were talking about having a little bit of insights about AI in general that you were wanting to share. So, is there some
Yeah, and I realized I just kind of started talking and didn't introduce myself. I actually am genuinely sure I've probably met a lot of folks who are on this call before, either at Scaling New Heights or some other capacity through an accounting channel. at some point. But my name's Rob Hamilton. I've been at Digits for 6 years, so almost kind of like the entire life of the company. So seeing all the different iterations and the ways we've partnered with firms, but I lead our go-to-market teams, which is basically I spend most of my day talking with accountants and accounting firms about those different things we can automate. And one of the things that Liz is kind of speaking to that we talked about, Heather, as well, was it's kind of a weird time for accountants to like navigate tool selection right now because there's so much, there's almost just a lot of mud in the market where folks have kind of built, they've taken their tooling that exists. It's basically like rebranding machine learning into AI. Folks are rebranding a bunch of things that they've had in their products for a long time and just saying, we have AI now. And like
Mm.
ultimately, that while some of that might be manifesting as real AI or agentic workflows or whatever it may be, ultimately in a lot of cases it's not. But it makes it really hard for you as the accountant or the accounting firm to actually navigate making a tool decision because you might have this mentality that I want to um, drive towards building an AI native firm. I want to leverage these tools. I want to be more efficient. But then you go start Googling to figure out what those tools are. And you're like, oh boy, everything has AI. How do I actually determine the differences between these things? And so I sympathize with that challenge. And obviously, I can speak to how Digits thinks about it because ultimately, what that then does is gives like a lens into how deeply you actually need to be thinking about these things as a technology company in order to actually be AI native. And so that's some of the pieces that would love to help obviously unpack for folks and kind of talk through. But I'd love to hear maybe initially from Liz and Heather, like how often are you hearing that and navigating that with kind of like within your community? It seems like something that comes up a lot to us on the Digit side as we talk with more and more accounting firms. But
100%. And, I was sharing at scaling. One of the things that I did on the show floor was walk a group through choosing and viewing the different GLs that were there. And so, the thing that I was talking to them about was the pain points that are in our firm. We've broken down into buckets. And so we've been trying to find solutions in each one of those buckets. And it has been a bit piecemealing together. So,
yeah.
if I think about the bookkeeping department, like how do we code transactions and do it in an automated way? And
Mhm.
then in the reviewing department, like how do we look at all of the transactions that have been entered and then review that? Because there's got to be a way to be able to utilize AI to say, here's the requirements, here's the standard that we're checking against. Let us look and see what that data looks like. And then ultimately, our clients really don't care so much about the financial reports, but they do care about the output. So, what does that output mean to them? So, interpretations. And, so far we've been trying to solve those three places. And, there's different patched together apps, but like you said earlier, our goal is to have less apps and more unity.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of what you're talking about, this like tons of apps all over the place, is a bit of a outcome from like the almost like cloud native era. So how we're thinking about this at Digits is like if Intuit and QuickBooks were shepherding, if you will, the desktop native era, Xero came in and really shepherded kind of like the cloud native era, which when you think about the difference between those two, it was really just a question of like where you do your work. So previously it was on the desktop, now it's in the cloud. You can do more like multi-client management and things like that. Where Digits is viewing ourselves is really bringing in the AI native era. And I'll define like a little bit what I mean by that. But it is interesting. This isn't just a question of where you do your work, but the biggest difference between cloud and AI native is a question of how you do your work, which that is inherently scary, I think a little bit, but at the same time, that's also why you want to choose the right technology partners who are actually partnering with the industry and trying to work together on how we make sure that these tools and solutions are built with the industry and profession in mind to drive forward that human in the loop nature. Because we're definitely of the mindset that um, the human isn't going away within this loop anytime soon, but that role might change as more and more things get automated. And as the month end bookkeeping kind of like process, more and more of that is going to get automated over the next couple of years. And so that's where, how do we then work with firms to structure the firm itself to take advantage of those efficiencies and build in the right way towards the future. So
All right, Rob, I heard you say over the next couple of years that that's going to get more and more automated. So I think you just kind of gave away a timeline right there. And I agree with you. I think that it's happening very quickly. I think that we're seeing this AI shift very quickly. And, my thing whenever somebody says, do you, I feel behind. It's like I don't see people as behind right now. I think that it's a shift that is gradual because many have experienced different tools that maybe are cool, but they're not necessarily helpful. And so that's where I think that a lot of marketing has failed us.
yeah.
Is that
Mhm.
it's saying, oh, we're going to be like all of this cool new stuff. And I think that's what's coming. And I do think it's quicker than any other technology shift that we've ever seen because AI is improving itself, whether, it's the people making it better or not. But I think that that's where it's exciting to see tools like Digits that's coming into the space as really a new concept
Mhm.
and how we can do it differently. And then, that timeline of a couple of years seems a whole lot more realistic whenever you kind of get your hands on how it works.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, it's super interesting to think about it in a timeline perspective, but also in, does this apply to me today, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And what's been interesting is that different models from a machine learning perspective work better for different types of things. And just LLMs in general, a lot of their use cases that they're good at actually are not things that are necessarily needed within accounting, if that makes sense. So like LLMs, you don't want them to do math because it's just predicting. It's not actually calculating anything. There's all these steps of what you can and can't do with what tools exist today. And what's happened is that a lot of companies haven't then had the ability to actually apply that to the actual accounting workflow. And what I mean
Right.
by that, and just to kind of like articulate that a little bit more cleanly, is, and this might be slightly technical and a little bit of a long-winded answer to your question, but probably like feel free to interject. But I think the cleanest way to do this is especially focus on that first section you talked about of like categorization. Categorization inherently is not like a large language model problem. It's actually a predictive model problem, which is a fundamentally different type of model. It's a statistical model rather than a generative model. And so in Digits, when you go connect your bank accounts, your credit cards, your payroll systems, we are then bringing in all those transactions and we're booking them as of the most recent close. 96% of the time, it books them accurately towards the accounting that has been done prior for that individual company. And I'll get into what I mean there a little bit more different. But the reason we're able to have that success is you can think about Digits having a fundamentally different database architecture that allows us to take advantage of the machine learning. So taking a step back, let's say we're thinking about QuickBooks or we're thinking about Xero, even all the way up to something like a NetSuite or an Oracle, they're all fundamentally relational databases. They were architected 20 or 30 years ago, and they treat every transaction basically as a row in a database. So they just treat it as text. And so let's say that you have your client, they went on an Uber ride. In QuickBooks, it just sees that as UBER. It sees it as text and it sees whatever you type in. So you type in those transactions, you probably noticed they sort of just sit there in the database. And when you run a report, it just prints that data back out to you. Of course, you can aggregate it by accounts, etc., but it doesn't inherently understand the data. It doesn't actually know what Uber is. And this actually is part of why folks have had challenges with QuickBooks AI up until now as well, because and I'm sympathetic to Intuit to some extent because they probably have a large, database architecture that they have to re-architect to adequately take advantage of AI appropriately. But what Digits has done that's different is that we've built what's called a semantic knowledge graph of the business when it comes in, and it allows us to specialize on any individual business. So when you bring in a company, whether it's from QuickBooks, when we bring in the history, we train on any individual company and how the bookkeeping has been done on that individual company. It's not just relying on a global model on the underlying basis where you're just sending something to
Or
GPT and
a
saying,
bunch of bad data.
Yeah.
yeah, or like send it to GPT and be like, hey, what do you think this is? Right? Because that's just trained on global information on the internet rather than like specialty within an individual company or industry. And what that allows us to do is rather than seeing everything as an individual string of text, Digits natively understands your vendors, your customers, your bank accounts, expense categories, all the above. So through this, we basically can map the flow of money into this kind of like n-dimensional space, not to bring physics into this, but it's just like wherever you can understand how each vendor or each customer or category relates to each other. And that's how the categorization model is able to be so accurate. Because within an individual company, if we've seen it before, we're like, oh, great, we know exactly how to deal with this. It'll effectively be perfect in booking that the next time. But if its confidence is low, it'll flag it to you and say, hey, what do you think this is? And again, as I mentioned, bringing in other workflows, if you also don't know what it is, you can just send a question to your client and get context right within Digits. Whether it's a receipt, a contract, additional context you need, they can attach it and send it back to you. And then we'll actually make a guess based on the response, what we think it is. But you can then just book it appropriately from there. So a bunch of these things where you traditionally in QuickBooks need external apps to help manage a process, all that is then just baked into Digits. And so anyway, I'll pause there. There's a bunch more to talk through, but this gets into kind of like what I mean by it goes pretty deep on what it actually takes to build kind of like AI natively just into the software app, let alone your
I
accounting firm.
love I love the background. I mean, I really do. And I think that one of the things that we need is to understand that background in order to be able to digest it. But I think that also seeing it in action
Let's
helps.
do it.
And so I'm going to say, you've teased, now show us.
Yes. Yes, please.
Let's make it happen. All right. Let me know when we.
Yep.
All
You
right.
are
All right. Let me
you are
just
sharing screen
expand
perfectly.
this a little bit. Okay, cool. So as an accounting firm, when you log into Digits, this is where in any individual company, this is effectively where you would land. Now you do have an all clients view, so you can see all your different clients, the work that is required for each of them. We have our academy where you can go do training. We have webinars on a bi-weekly basis and intro videos. We also allow every client, and this is what I'm going to use for my demo. So to be clear, you have access to this. Every single firm who signs up for Digits has the ability to launch their own demo data, so you can play around with everything. You also, as a part of our partner program within Digits, can sign up your own firm for free as a part of the partner program. So you can come in, play around with the data, see what all this looks like. But as you come in, what this will look like either for you or any given client that you want to bring up, you can either bring them cleanly into Digits without any history. And that's where we'll just gift you our typical chart of accounts. You connect the real-time connections, and then we'll just start booking things into Digits. But if you have a history in like a QuickBooks, we have a full built out connection to their API, or we'll just bring in the entire history, roughly takes 10 minutes, but that history will come in. And that's what will also help train the model. So if you've done clean accounting in the past on a company coming over, we'll have clean data going into the trained model for anything future coming in. So you would just basically set a cutover date. You come in, we connect to 10,000 credit cards. We have direct connections into Ramp and Mercury, Stripe, and Gusto and others. But you go connect those things in. This is what's used in the demo account. And once that comes in, basically as of that cutover date, we'll just start streaming all of the data directly into Digits. And so that's where you'll see that data just flow into the ledger. And so if I'm looking into my Mercury checking account, you'll see all the transactions within the Mercury checking account.
And let me just kind of like this, from my perspective, the way that I view this is instead of there being bank feeds, what you have is the connection, and then in the background, all of the feeding is actually happening automatically to the ledger.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Uh,
And,
Because it
and Rob, I just
simplifies
want
it.
to point out that in that we a couple of months ago we did an episode where I demoed the connection from QuickBooks, pulling in a QuickBooks company into Digits.
oh
So
yeah.
if folks want to see what that looks like, and it was incredibly easy, they can go check that out.
And 1 second, I just need to make sure I realized I didn't turn something on in my
Sure.
demo account that I want to make sure I show within this. So
And you know, one of the things that because there's not like a traditional bank feeds view, like you can get into the ledger and you can see all of it. But because there's not a bank feeds view, that thing that I was talking about earlier that we wanted to in our firm solve for the bank bookkeeping, the coding, the entry, I
Mhm.
think that, that's the part that we were wanting to solve. And this is the place that eliminate a lot of the time spent in the bookkeeping.
Yep. Exactly. And so, to your point, kind of what you mentioned is as things stream in, you'll see they get booked, and you do have the ability to book departments and locations. In this world, if you use Gusto, we actually will just stream in and auto book the journal entry from payroll for departments and locations as well. If you work with companies that kind of like have a more, complicated setup within all of that. But just to show you a little bit how this looks like, and how it works in practice, I'm just going to upload a bunch of transactions here. And so let's just say that we have a bank statement, or um, maybe it's a CSV, whatever it may be. I'm going to go ahead and bring in, let's see, new ramp transactions. I'm going to drag and drop this in. I'm going to say that this is ramp. It's just a new, we'll say add ramp. We're going to make this a bank account just so it's easy for me to find. Ignore the semantics of this probably being incorrect as it relates to the accounting purposes. This is more just to show you what this looks like. But this will pull all the information. And when I import this, what this is going to do if I go back to May is you see all those transactions. And you'll see them coming in as italicized right now. That's the AI is working on all of those at this given point in time. So in that world, what that will look like as it comes in is that it'll start booking and bringing in the party, and it'll also book the category based on how it historically has been done within that account. And so in this world, what this takes off your plate is there's actually an agent in the background. You'll see what this looks like, where it's going and doing what you might do. Is I'm going to go Google this. I'm going to bring in the transaction history, or the understanding of this vendor. I'll bring in their details, how to get in touch with their support, their logo, all of that kind of stuff to bring it in. But from there, what it will also do is when we don't have confidence in something, it's going to flag that transaction to you so that you can take a look at it. So in this case, it's booked everything, but there's 4 items in my inbox for me to take a look at. And one of them is this United States Patent and Trademark Office. So I'm going to click into this, and it's basically telling me, hey, I think this is taxes, or I think this is legal. Another very interesting thing is if you're doing like a cleanup on a company, it actually will help you build out the chart of accounts where necessary as well, and say we have seen similar transactions booked to intangible amortization. So if that's something you want to build out, you can just add that category to your chart of accounts right from here and build it out. In this case, I'm going to say that it's legal and hit save. And it's going to automatically detect that I have similar transactions in my past and say, do you also want to add these, to change these over to legal? Now I'm going to say update, and it'll automatically move those over. There's a couple other, let's do this year.
And so this is a bit of working through the current transactions plus doing cleanup as you're working.
Exactly. And as you do that cleanup, and cleanup, you can probably think of multiple cases. Like in this case, you're basically helping understand how to deal with transactions on an ongoing basis that the AI has less confidence in. So the way that I would think about that is like if it's a new business and you're just dragging in a bunch of transactions, move them around, all of that is like cleaning up and helping train the AI on how to handle those similar transactions the next time. On an ongoing basis, this is then going to flag things that it doesn't know what it is. So in this case, I'm just going to confirm this as memberships and dues, and it'll book that. And so now I don't have anything in my inbox, and everything has been booked that's in my reconciliations. And now you can see I'm back in May already.
Mhm.
All of those transactions have come in. It has all of their logos, and it's automatically booked all of them from here. And this becomes really powerful. So we had a firm come in just the other day that focuses on cleanups in tax and annual taxes. And they said, I had a 4-year cleanup that typically would take me like a week to do, and I did it in 4 hours in Digits. And part of the reason for that is that they went and connect all their bank accounts. And in this case, their bank gave them 2 years worth of data. So they were able to start there. But then for everything else, they just drag and dropped the bank statements into their documents area, and we let you just, what that'll do is bring them into your reconciliations automatically, and you can add all the transactions directly from your reconciliation.
So you don't need to go through, create a bank rule and then apply that bank rule. It's happening automatically because it's learning as you're working and then
Correct.
applying.
Exactly. And then it'll apply all that as you move forward as well. So I'm going to come in here and just show you a little bit kind of like what this reconciliation might look like. So if I'm coming in here.
Yeah, I think that the reconciliation is talking through that there's a manual component to it, but then there's also a lot of automation that's happening.
Yeah, and I realized that this is going to be interesting to see what happens. We're going to do this live a little bit. Um,
Oh, we like that.
I uploaded a bunch of transactions to May, and then I didn't realize that my bank statement I just uploaded is also for May. And those transactions are not going to exist on this statement. So
Oh.
we'll see what it does. But this is a feature that I'm showing off here that we literally just launched a couple weeks back, and it's basically AI reconciliations. So in the case that you work with like a Mercury or a bank that sends through their bank statements, we'll actually automatically pull the bank statement directly into Digits. You can also just drag and drop a bunch of bank statements into your documents folder. We will search what bank account it's for and just automatically start and do the reconciliations on your behalf. So this is where that cleanup use case becomes really, really powerful. You're like, hey, I just have 12 months of bank statements. All you have to do is drag them in to your documents area of Digits, and we'll actually just kick off doing all of the reconciliations for you. In this case, it's still thinking. It does take a couple minutes, but what this is using is a different type of AI model called a layout-aware language model. It's one that we've trained on tons of bank statements. It's the same technology we use in our bill pay system in Digits, but what it's doing is extracting all of the line items and drawing little bounding boxes on every single transaction. And the cool outcome of that is that on the back end, you actually will have a bounding box tied to every individual transaction in Digits. So if you look at that transaction across the platform, you'll be able to see that bounding box and click back to the reconciliation that it's a part of.
Nice.
So in this case, you
Okay.
can then see, okay, here's those bounding boxes. And what's cool is as you go through this, you can see, hey, I have a bunch of stuff that is not found. And those are all the ones that I uploaded. I'm waiting to find one that is in here that I didn't accidentally upload appropriately. Oops. But what this is going to do is create a bunch of flags for you. And what it's saying, it's going to look for a couple different things. It's going to say, hey, here's a transaction that has a date mismatch. So we see it in your ledger, but we see it on the bank statement, and you see it on the bank statement as May 31st. So we can just hit change, and it will automatically update the date on the piece that it found was missing, which was this transaction right here, and automatically changed it. There's another one where it's saying, hey, there's a missing transaction. We see this on the bank statement, but we don't see it in your ledger. And so I'm just going to hit create transaction, and it's going to create that transaction for us. So as we go through, and I did mess this up with everything that I uploaded, so that's my fault here.
We
But
actually learn more from when things
You
don't
do.
go perfectly right.
Agreed.
So it may be challenging on your side, but it actually is insightful on ours.
absolutely. But in this case, basically what this is saying is all the transactions that are in this bank statement exist in the ledger. Now, there's a bunch of things I would need to do, and I'm not an accountant to navigate this appropriately, where this specific account is not netting out appropriately. So then I would need to go through and double check a bunch of those things. But for the sake of showing this off based on the bank statement, it's assessing the bank statement, seeing if there's anything missing or weird or wonky. It then flags it appropriately here and allows you to fix it directly from the reconciliation, which is
Okay,
nice.
so well, that's saving quite a bit of time. And I like it that it didn't try to just solve it without saying, "Hey, we see some anomalies here."
And this
Um,
is kind of what I was mentioning before, where it's like there is still a human in the loop aspect here. Like those decisions are not ones that you want it really making without your input.
You know, the other thing too that I think is helpful to show off is even in that reconciliation screen or in that journal screen that you were showing earlier, that you
Mhm.
can drill down to the individual transactions and have conversations about them.
Hmm.
Yep.
So, a lot of people here are using, one GL and then they're using something else for communication. So, can you show how Digits is handling the communication either internally or with the client?
I love that. So, and thank you for calling that out because this really is kind of like speaks to what I was talking about before of how do we bake these things into the software itself versus it needing a bunch of different apps. And that's not to say that we are going to do everything for everyone. We just launched an open API, so we will have integrations into tons of other tools that will exist on top of Digits in a similar way that they do on top of QuickBooks. Or other, more legacy ledger systems as well. But in this case, especially for an AI to work properly, it actually is important for that context to live within the data, the system of record. And so in this world, hosting the communication and all of the attachments is really important to have exist directly within this. So you mentioned bringing up a journal entry. Everything in Digits is commentable. A transaction, a vendor, um, a category, a bank account on the balance sheet, all the above, everything you can communicate directly with your client in here. So let's say I had a question about this transaction. I can mention my client and oops, I can't spell. And then ask them whatever question I have. When I hit send on this, it creates a comment thread, and your client will then get a notification to their inbox that says, and that says like, hey, this has been assigned to you by your accountant. Take a look at it and answer their question. Once you ask that question, you can see for me as the accountant, it shows up in watching because I've asked this question and I'm waiting for them to get back to me. You'll also be able to see everything that's enclosed. So here's the actions I've taken. And if there's anything like open and watching, or there's reasons that they're different, but in any case, yep,
The question, are clients able to attach documents to this as well?
they are. So if you're
Awesome.
coming in here and let's actually use an example of like maybe I'm in the financials here and I'll look at like a balance sheet and maybe we'll go find that ramp account that I just created. If I wanted to go here and basically be like, hey, client, please attach like the statement into your documents or whatever you might need, you can send that here. And then if they send an attachment back in the response, it will show up not only in your documents folder on the left side. Sorry, I don't have an easy way to demo this, but it'll show up in your documents folder, and then it'll also attach whatever they attached to where you asked the question. So
You
basically, if
know,
you're like on the bank account and you ask for it, it'll attach there. If you're on a transaction, it gives that context directly on the transaction line item as well.
to us, I mean, that's such a huge pain point that you're solving here because
Mhm.
I'm no full transparency, I'm not a digits user, but we struggle with this very thing. It's like,
Mhm.
where does our communication live? Where does our GL live? And so I like being able to see the transaction level that if we were to open up that transaction, there's already a comment. So if whether or not it was internal, whether or not it was with the client, we can
Yep.
see that that transaction has already been questioned about. And so we're not having to store that information somewhere else in that second thing that I was talking about past the bookkeeping, the reviewing. So this is very helpful. And I like that you've got all questions that can be seen in one area. So you've got a depository of all of those comments resolved or open.
And if you want to look at these things, like the other benefit we have here, and this is like a little bit of a cleanup use case or otherwise, but you can take bulk actions in a lot of different ways within Digits as well, either from the ledger or other views. So in this case, if I see, maybe it's not all of these, let me be a little bit, maybe I look at all these and I'm like, these are not business applications and software. This is something else. I can go move that. Let's say it's facilities. It's not, but let's just say that it is. I can then quick bulk move all of those things to facilities. And what happens is that we automatically learn. And the next time we see something similar to those transactions, we will book them to facilities.
Now, is
You
there
know,
an undo button?
that's a great question. Hmm. Not that I'm familiar with, but I will take that to the product team on being able to approach it. Maybe let's see what happens if I press Control Z. Did that work?
Oh
No,
my,
it did
did it?
not. It didn't.
Okay, okay. But
But
otherwise, you could just go bulk add and put them
I
back
can,
where they were.
yeah, I can just go here business applications and software and change it back. But the other thing you can do here is you can also bulk ask questions. Where this comes up a lot of times is in vendors. We will flag if you have new vendors. And so let's say we don't know what this vendor is. You can just go up here and do a comment on all these transactions. And I'm going to say, like, what was this Asana expense for? You have it up here. We've pre-written that question through our own kind of like trained LLM. We send those messages, and that then sends kind of like a bulk email to your client saying, hey, there's 4 transactions that need your input on it. And then
So, Rob, I want to stop you for a second because I know that Heather's ready to launch the poll. But I know that you want to talk about some other elements, and so feel free to, but we want to make sure that anybody who wants additional digits information has that opportunity to say yes.
absolutely. And also, like, we are happy to find time with anyone on this call in addition to whatever, I'm talking about here. If you want more information or otherwise, our team is happy to hop on with folks. All you need to do is go to it's not this page, but you go to partner with digits here and type in your email, become a partner. This is going to give you options to both talk with our team, and that talks more about like, hey, how do we scale together, and what does that look like to kind of like build an AI native practice together. You can also just skip that step and just get started on digits and start exploring on your own. And if you go to academy.digits.com, Megan, who leads our training and enablement team, who I think, Liz, you've met and chatted with in the past as
She's
well.
awesome.
She's awesome. She's incredible. Has built out a whole kind of like training material around all the things that you need to know as an accounting firm to like use and build your knowledge on digits across kind of like everything that you might need to know using the product. If you want to grow with us and do more together, we obviously can do more one-on-one training with you with our enablement teams and make sure you get set up appropriately on that front too. But we don't need to belabor too much. Like, we have built-in bill pay, we have built-in invoicing. Our intent here is that we don't want a client of yours to be stuck on QuickBooks or another legacy system because they're using their money movement tools. We partner really deeply with Gusto. We have not necessarily like embedded them. So if someone's on QuickBooks payroll, that might be a challenge. But ultimately, we're doing our best to integrate with as many companies as possible to ease the integration burden. But this is the type of thing where we're also using those layout aware language models where I just uploaded a bill. You can also very recently, I don't think this has even been launched yet, but we're working on, you just forward a bill over, we'll ingest it and bring it in here. This automatically pulls in all of the details. And it also allows you to split the line items automatically. Notice how fast that happened. We're not sending it off to Mechanical Turk or like other companies might do. And you can book those appropriately from there and then send it to be paid. So we have all these mechanisms built in. We probably don't have enough time to talk through all the different like review mechanisms that are in place and all the automated insights that you're going to gain over whatever period of time you're looking at. But just an example, if I'm doing my variance or flux analysis, I can hop in and see, hey, for this given month, this spiked, and here's why. Turns out that this spiked because I uploaded a bunch of transactions that were fake. But you can see that it automatically pulled out the details as to why that spiked. So you're not needing to go download a bunch of extra information to figure that out either.
And Rob, I love this because, when Digits first launched several years ago, it was mostly the reporting piece of this, right? That sat on top of the general ledger. And I love to see it here, having the AI native general ledger behind it. It's really cool to see how it's evolved over the years.
I mean, we couldn't have done it without partnership from the accounting community as well. Because I mean, Heather, I think as you know, we've been working together with accountants for a long time to gather feedback and understand kind of like a lot of the workflow pain and difficulty. And so we want to continue to do that just in a slightly expanded capacity, if you will, moving
Love
forward
it.
in all the different ways we can work together. So
I appreciate you showing, the viewers here what else is out there. I think that, you said it, a couple of years. That's kind of the timeline that many of us are feeling and kind of expecting ourselves to be thinking about what does this change look like and understanding what the next available to us looks like, I think is really helpful. So, if you think about your firm, are you a tax firm that also does bookkeeping and accounting? Are you strictly a bookkeeping firm? Whatever the pain points are, the reason to make the switch is because something's not working in your existing software and you're trying to solve for it. And for us, it's that communications piece, it's entering in the transactions, it's the reviewing of the transactions, and then it's the sharing of the what matters most to the client. So what's going to improve their profitability? That AI piece that's in there that can help to identify trends is really helpful. So
Yeah,
thank
I think
you
you're
for
yeah, you're
jumping
calling out
on.
yeah, you're calling out all the right things. I guess I would just say is the way to think about it as a firm, at least how we're approaching it with the firms we partner with, is imagine a world where in the next couple of years the month end close is largely automated. And so in that world where that part is largely automated, how do you shift and change your value proposition and role in your relationship with your clients? Because again, it doesn't mean that the human is going away. It just means the tedium of that process is going away. And so then in that world, like you're not pinging your clients incessantly for an
Mm.
entire day to send you bank statements. All those things just exist already. Now, what does like the assessment of that look like, and how do you build your relationship with your client from there? And so that's kind of like the mental state to put in to help push you towards that next step. But
And,
appreciate
and
Liz and Heather, both of you having me, and it was great to talk to the group here.
yeah, we've been thankful to have you here and to see it in action, because it's one thing to hear it, it's another thing to actually see it.
No, it is. I mean, digging in, I mean, Liz and I and our whole community, we're digger into-ers. That's a
Absolutely.
Heatherism there for you. We want to see it and we want to play with it, and so this has been great. And we'd love to have you back to dig in a little bit deeper too.
Yeah, would love to. And I
Yeah.
apologize. I don't know, Zoom issues to get in, but always happy to find more time, come chat with
Yeah.
folks and dive into some things we didn't have time to quite hit on as well. So let me know how I can be helpful. But if anyone obviously has any questions, you can reach out. Heather, feel free to share my email directly if folks um, want to chat about anything or have any follow-up questions. So
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. And I know that you have a lovely family, so hopefully you get a chance to enjoy the holidays with them.
I'll do my best. It was the first Thanksgiving for the little 9-month-old, and first Christmas as well. So should be fun.
Oh,
Mm.
wonderful. Well, we didn't get a chance to share our drink, the Modern Ledger, but I don't know that we have Japanese whiskey, but since my daughter Chloe, who I'm with right now, was a whiskey rep for several years, we have a wide selection of whiskey
Oh,
that
there we go.
I will be making this cocktail late for sure. Very
Mm.
cool. And you can find our recipes, all of the recipes for Happy Hour on our website. So, yeah, so Rob, this has been great. And again, we would love to have you come back and dig in a little bit further. I'd love to see some of the reporting and really dig in. So let's definitely get that on our schedule and do a part two
Yeah, that
um,
would be great.
with
And
you.
even to the point of questions, like I'm happy to just, if folks have questions, I'm happy to just hop on and we just do a Q&A session. You just
Sure.
or whatever. Like we can structure it however is most helpful for your community and
Love
approach it
it.
that way. So
Great. All right. Well, you guys can check out if you jumped in late or you want to revisit, please do check out our YouTube channel. You can also find a link to our YouTube channel from our website, thehappyhour.com. And we're going to see you in just a couple of weeks with Worthy. And then on the 30th of December, we're going to be doing our annual New Year's Eve party. So we're excited to have you guys join us for that. We'll be having some games. We were kind of going over games during our meeting today and some of the prizes. We always have prizes and games, and it's a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll see you for that. And then going into the new year, we have a lot of new AI showcase episodes coming up. So we look forward to seeing all of you then.
Until then, take care, everyone.
Take care.
I
Bye.
Bye.